Please welcome Axios Pro Tech Policy Reporter Maria Curi.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here on the AI Plus stage with you today. You know, these days when we think about content creators, we often think about influencers and TikTok, but there is an entire ecosystem out there of content creators whose livelihoods are really being impacted by AI. And that's why I'm so excited for this conversation that we have coming up here. We're going to hear from Michael Sanchez, the CEO of Raptive, an ad management company that helps creators build independent companies and brands. And he will be joined by Lisa Bryan, who is the founder and creator of Downshiftology, a recipe site. And she will attest to how AI has helped her grow, but to also how it could obliterate the creators' online economy entirely. Michael and Lisa, come on out. Hello. Welcome. Hello. Okay, so we're going to get a slide up here now and kind of set the scene with some numbers. Michael, if you can walk us through what Raptive is and the impact that it has.
Thanks, Maria, for having us. Hi, everybody. I'm Michael Sanchez, CEO of Raptive. Delighted to be here. Our mission at Raptive is to help the highest quality content creators build sustainable businesses and live their dreams. We now serve 5,200 extraordinary entrepreneurs across every state in the US. You'll meet Lisa, a great example, shortly. Together, they've produced 25 million pieces of copyrighted content. Really amazing. When you start to look at these creators, they're doing this full time. They're making a living. They're feeding their families. They're creating tens and hundreds of thousands of jobs. That's where Raptive comes in. We say, hey, Lisa and creators focus on the content. We handle all the advertising and their monetization, help with different parts of their business. This has been an amazing journey, and I think it's one of the kind of secrets of the internet and the open internet is the scale that these extraordinary content creators have reached. Together, the Raptive group of 5,200 creators now reaches 191 million monthly visitors in the US. This is each month. We're now a top 10, I think number 8, ComScore property scale that's now beyond many of the big platforms and the media companies we all know. This has resulted in Raptive becoming the largest source of ads on the open internet. I think there's good data out there that 15% of every dollar spent on the open internet now goes to a Raptive creator, which is extraordinary. $2.5 billion have been paid to creators, and I think we're especially proud of the fact that 58% of all diverse-owned media businesses are with Raptive, and that is really a growing number that's very important for the health of the open internet.
I wanted to focus on that number for a little longer. Why is it important to have diversity in the creator community?
Good question. Think of the promise of the internet. Not only would billions of people be able to get extraordinary content, but it could come from all different diverse voices, great perspectives, information, entertainment. Just within Raptive, 80% of our creators, our entrepreneurs, are women-owned female businesses, and we have a rapidly growing number of Black-owned, Hispanic, Asian, and these are the diverse voices that give the internet important diversity. And we're going to obviously, Maria, going to talk about AI here, but if you abstract out all of that personality, you're just going to have a plain vanilla answer. We're going to lose the diversity of what makes the internet special. And even when you look at results, we're going to lose this very important part of the open web.
Another figure that really strikes me here is the 25 million copyrighted works that have been published online. That's just an enormous number. Talk about the importance of that work.
Think about the blood, sweat, and tears and the creativity and the brilliance of the thousands of creators.
I've got a few thousand of those on my site. I'll take credit for those, yeah.
Thousands and thousands of pieces of content that are expressed. It's narrative, it's photos, it's images, it's stories, all copyrightable, all protected. And now as we look towards generative AI, we're very concerned that all that gets lost in the desire to put one answer forward into a new experience.
And we'll definitely get to that. If we can cue up the second slide here and kind of get into why all of this matters and turn it over to Lisa. Lisa, tell us about what Downshiftology is and how has it become your livelihood?
Sure. So about 10 years ago, I started Downshiftology, I say, in a blaze of burnout from the corporate world where I was probably working too much, had a little too much stress, and wasn't eating healthy. And I was going through some health issues at the time. And so I left the corporate world and I started this little website where I thought to myself, I'm just going to share some healthy recipes and hopefully help some others out there who might want to downshift in their lives as well. And over time, what started as this little passion project turned into a vibrant digital media company where my audience grew over time and the entire ecosystem of independent publishers grew as well. And now today, Downshiftology reaches over 100 million people a year, which is just mind-boggling.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just to zoom out, this is 78% of creators, their number one concern is that AI will negatively impact their income. Can you zoom out a little bit and tell me about what you're hearing from the other creators that Raptive supports?
Maybe just to put all of this in context, and the AI platforms, OpenAI and Google, which we're most concerned about at this moment, they have scraped the whole internet. The 25 million pieces of content have all been scraped. That's been their training data. And I'm sure everyone saw their announcement a couple of weeks ago, but they are in full rollout of changing the search experience, now called AI Overviews, where they've trained on Lisa's content, but now the results will be derived from Lisa's content and all the other content creators, and will give an AI answer, and then maybe some links. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, but the real danger here is that their content's been trained upon, and then the traffic, the lifeblood, the revenue that goes to all these content creators will go away. There will no longer be the traffic back. Revenue will be hurt. And so when you talk about 78% of content creators are worried about AI, let's put a human element on that. Of the 5,200 creators we serve, many of them are making $60,000, $75,000 a year. If you were to cut their income in half, which is a very possible scenario as this rolls out, that's devastating to their livelihoods. For the larger creators, they're employing quite a few employees. There's no wonder that creators are extremely worried about their livelihoods.
And I think that's a really important point because a lot of people out there see us as solopreneurs, independent, creators, but it takes a team to create high quality content. And so as creators start to lose traffic to their sites and lose their livelihood, it's not just potentially creators going out of business, it's all of the people that they employ as well. And so I think that's a really big concern. And then to the AI overviews point, you're getting these results that I call it amalgamated mishmash. It's taking little bits and pieces and stripping out the humanity, stripping out the personality and the perspectives and the unique viewpoints. And so you're just getting this very homogenized content without what makes each of those unique pieces of content, valuable.
So we've talked about the revenue concerns, the concern that your employees might also be on the line here. If we go on to the third and final slide, we'll see a layout of the different concerns. If we could get to the third slide, please. So let's talk a little bit more on the misuse and competition aspects of this entire story. What are the concerns around misuse, Michael?
We still see it every day, and there's a lot of examples of AI misfiring, but they are putting out answers in content, sometimes even citing our creators that in the silly examples, hey, here's a blueberry pie recipe, and then all of a sudden they're citing a creator, and the recipe is terrible. And so there's real concern, and I don't know, Lisa, if you want to talk about competition.
I think I akin it to one of the biggest heists of copyright infringement happening right now. And if I were to go into ChatGPT or a Google search and say, so I have a published cookbook by Penguin Random House, and if I were to say, hey, give me paragraph 1 of chapter 3 of my cookbook, or if I were to say, on YouTube, I were to put a 3-second snippet of a Taylor Swift song, both of those things would get swiped down immediately for copyright infringement. But on the open web right now, our content is just being scraped and repurposed, and that copyright is not being acknowledged at all.
And are you worried that this will increase competition against, your work?
Absolutely. What is happening is it's increasing competition against myself of my own work. So it's scraping my content and my recipes, creating a mishmash form of that, and then competing head to head with me. So
we talked about the announcement that Google recently made that it now has these AI-generated summaries when you put in a query. I want to give you some of the arguments that Google has made for why this is actually a good thing and then have you respond. So Google says it's actually showing more links with its AI overview feature and that those are getting more clicks, which is ultimately beneficial for publishers. What's your response, Michael?
We hope that turns out to be true. They were testing for the better part of a year, and we had very deep analytics on all their testing when they would test using the search experience. Certainly in the testing, we saw substantially fewer clicks. And then when you look at the actual experience that they're putting forward, here's a whole generated answer, and maybe here's a link or two. We don't think that'll be more traffic. The number one thing we're asking for, and the CEO of Google is out there publicly in interviews being pressured, and the question is just be transparent. Show us the amount of traffic that's going to sites, and if we can look at that, there maybe is a happy result, but it seems pretty clear that the experience as designed will mean far fewer clicks, and back to the diversity, it's going to be a small number of big players who are getting the few clicks that are left. So we're very concerned. Transparency would be one part of the solution.
Lisa, would you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would say what I see, which is a little scary at this point in time, is this fractured internet where you're going to get AI overviews that, again, are these homogenized answers from a variety of sources. And then content creators are either going to get put out of business, which we've already seen. And this is everything from people in food and travel and gardening. I mean, it spans so many things. Just think of all the queries that we all do on a regular basis. And so then the content creators that are left are most likely going to start paywalling their content to protect it. And so instead of a free and open web that benefits everyone, you're going to end up with homogenized content or paywalled content. And I think that's just a sad future to envision.
Another argument that Google has made is that the AI summaries will lead to growth for high quality content. I think we all have used Google in our lives, and sometimes we'll search something and we don't get the answer we want right away. What would your counter argument be to this being useful for consumers and having an immediate better response?
At this point, it is not extremely useful. I think over time, to be clear, AI will get better and better and will become more useful. I think a big part of what we're saying is it is the content creators who created all the content that has been trained upon, and they shouldn't be left behind. They should be a commitment that traffic is going. They should be compensated for being part of all this value creation. So, there was all the news out there of all the silly results last week, but over time it will get better. You just can't leave content creators behind and have their livelihoods go away when it was their content formed the basis of all of this.
And Google has recently had to roll back their search function a bit after people were getting results from, suggestions to eat rocks or put glue on their pizza. Is there a bigger danger here to having an ecosystem of information that is unreliable beyond these sillier, cases?
Absolutely. I mean, so my website alone is gluten-free recipes. There are a lot of people out there with autoimmune conditions. If a result gets returned, say somebody wants to swap an ingredient and Google gives them a wrong or incorrect response, I mean, that could be detrimental to a lot of people out there. So I think these answers that are unverified and taken from a variety of sources, whether it be Reddit, whether it be chat groups where it's really hard to differentiate what's true, what's been said in jest, I think going back to the original content creator who has the expertise in that area, and it's their lived human experience that has given them the authority to create that content, I think it needs to continue to go back to the original content creator.
Maybe, Maria, going back to your question about whether more traffic is going to go out to the open internet, we all watched their presentation announcing rolling out OpenAI AI overviews, and it felt very clear what the vision was coming from Google, and it was, we'll do the Googling, let Google do the Googling for you. So it used to be a user going to search, clicking into a site, experience it, and going out. What they're saying is it's all going to live in their walled garden. You don't need to go out. So I think the intention is very clear. It certainly raises anti-competitive things. Money used to, revenue used to go to creators. Now will live on those walls. So it didn't feel like their intention as the product was described. Let's see, but let's make sure they're accountable to make creators whole and to be transparent about what's happening.
Mm-hmm. But AI isn't going anywhere, right? And so you touched on this a little bit, Michael, already. I'm wondering if you can expand on it. What do you want from Google? What do creators want?
I think what's most important is that creators participate in the value. I think first and foremost, if we're ticking through, step one, be transparent with what's happening in the results. That will be very helpful. Congress, who we've been spending some time talking to the legislators and staff on both sides of the aisle, typically the Senate Judiciary Committee. Both sides are very concerned about anti-competitive and copyright and fair use, but a clear statement from Congress saying this is copyright infringement and fair use doesn't apply would be great. Pressure on Google. Law enforcement agencies, the Department of Justice and FTC, they can get involved. And I don't know if we're going to talk about this, but creators are starting to mobilize, and they're really looking for Google to say, make sure, the commitment from Google, Maria, could be creators will either not lose traffic or we will compensate them for what's lost. They should be participating in whatever great value is developed.
And I think that there's a big movement right now with content creators educating their audiences and saying, in the future, this is a problem. We are seeing, can you tell the difference between an AI-generated recipe and an authentic recipe? And I did that with my audience on Instagram last week, and they could not tell the difference between a real and a not. And if you're going to spend $50 on expensive ingredients because you want to make a filet mignon, you want that to turn out right. You want to know that it has been tested and tasted. And last time I checked, AI could not test and taste a recipe. And I think it's just like food, more than any industry, is the core of the humanity. We have to taste it, and we have to, my audience follows me because of my specific taste. And so I think, we're just going to lose all of that.
And what are the pressure points here? Is it going to take litigation? Is it going to take a change in laws?
The litigation question is very interesting. The New York Times is out there suing OpenAI, but it doesn't appear that anyone has challenged Google, and they're certainly very well known for taking many, many years and defending very aggressively. So smaller companies and entities pursuing that could take years and years, and maybe somebody doesn't. I think that would be great.
Is that something that you would pursue?
I think companies like Raptive and other media companies are exploring all options as we will continue, but it's very daunting to do so, and I think the more angles of pressure can be put on Google, hopefully they come to the conclusion that and it's good for the internet. If all these creators go away, what gets trained on? It's going to be this plain answer there. So we really hope that the creators and these websites don't get abstracted away.
Talk to us a little bit more about what your playbook in DC has been. Which lawmakers have you been meeting with? How have they received your message? And can we anticipate any action on Capitol Hill when it comes to this, especially in an election year?
I think you all are more expert on what Congress will do. It feels very hard to imagine that they're going to pass legislation, but both sides of the aisle, we've been spending time primarily in Senate Judiciary Committee on both sides. They're very concerned about the anti-competitive side of what Google has done. Just one example. They're now saying, hey, creators can block the crawler. You will then not show up in the results for the AI overviews. This is something that's anti-competitive. So I think a lot of people on both sides are looking at the anti-competitive side, and maybe there's an angle there that gets pushed through.
And have you felt that there's a bit of a gap on the House side of things? I mean, do you have anyone there that's willing to sit down and talk about these issues?
We have started on that side. Again, it is knowing the U.S. legislative system. It is not something that you can put a lot of hope that they're going to pass stuff, but they put pressure, their letters, their hearings, and again, hopefully, and Google is saying a lot of the right things. We hope they end up doing a lot of the right things.
All right, well, that is all the time we have. Thank you so much, Michael and Lisa, for being here. Everyone, please stay tuned for 2 more segments, and then we'll take a short break. Thank you.